I do what I have to do. You know?
Why do you say you do what you have to do? Couldn't you stop doing this?
No puedo.
You can't.
Ya cuando entras, ya no sales a muchas veces.
Once you get in, you can't get out.
Veracruz Port District, 2:17 hours. Rain drives sideways across the container yard as 12 men in black plate carriers move between stacked crates. M4 bolts click under the noise of the wind. 2 MV5 armored trucks idle on the access lane, lights off, engines at low idle. Command on Channel 4 counts down from 30. At 21 seconds, the front gate bursts open. A flash bang rolls across wet pavement. Inside the hangar, gunfire rips through metal siding. 3 suspects go down immediately. One raises his hands. The first camera frame that matters tonight catches the cartel lieutenant on his knees, bound with plastic cuffs, his face lit by the pulsing blue of a handheld strobe. The arrest appears clean. It isn't. At 2:23, rainwater runs across the floor where 10 crates are stacked against the wall. The stenciled serials match federal police inventory tags. A corporal unseals one. Inside, assault rifles, ballistic plates, sealed evidence bags labeled from a previous journalist murder case. 2 agents call it in. A third finds a man in uniform, face down, near the office door. His shoulder patch shows Veracruz State Police. He's alive, wrists zip-tied. The captured colonel blinks against the light and says nothing. Someone asks for ID verification. Command replies, "Confirmed internal." The phrase means he's one of theirs. Shock spreads down the line faster than the rain. The colonel's badge glints under a flashlight. Cameras hold on the reflection until static cuts the feed. Inside the command truck, parked 200 meters away, 6 monitors show the raid in thermal color. Time reads 2:27:48. A hard drive meter spikes red. Data transfer rate drops to 0. The chief tech, call sign Raptor 2, types a command string. No response. On the next screen, file folders vanish one by one. "We're losing footage," he says. The operations captain thinks it's bandwidth overload from rain interference. He tells him to switch to the secondary router. Raptor 2 does. The deletion continues. Drives are overheating. Fans run at 12,000 revolutions per minute. The air smells of ozone and melting insulation. Someone kills the power strip. Too late. Data loss reaches 98%. They think it's sabotage from outside the network. It isn't. It's built into the drives they just captured. By 2:40, the first MV5 loads detainees. Rain eases. Steam rises from exhaust pipes. 2 suspects are unconscious from shock grenades. 4 remain silent. The colonel sits upright, eyes fixed on nothing. Command orders convoy move. Distance to base, 57 kilometers. Lead driver keeps constant 80 kilometers per hour. Radio encryption confirmed on Channel Delta. Drone Falcon 1 takes off from Pier 9, climbing to 200 meters for overwatch. The convoy looks solid. 5 vehicles, alternating black and tan pattern. Lights shielded. 2 gun trucks in rear guard. Everything reads normal on the monitor. Confidence returns. Someone even jokes about breakfast at dawn. The sense of control feels earned, mechanical, factual. The blind spot is already open beneath them. At 2:58, Falcon 1's operator calls out heat blooms ahead at grid 19 G04. 4 small vehicles moving crosswise, 20 meters off highway. Command interprets it as civilian farm traffic. Infrared shows steady pace, not evasive. Convoy keeps course. 10 seconds later, those vehicles vanish from thermal scope. Operator assumes fog interference. Altitude adjusted to 250 meters. Nothing. On-screen range display jumps to 0. Falcon 1 camera freezes mid-frame. The drone feed reconnects 3 seconds later, but telemetry timestamps are off by 7 minutes. Command believes it's software lag. The colonel in the second truck glances up when his radio earpiece chirps a faint tone, almost a lock signal. He looks straight into the lens, smiles once, and leans back. 0304 hours. Convoy reaches bridge crossing the Kota River. Rain restarts, light but steady. River depth measured at 6 meters. Lead truck reports possible obstruction. A tire fragment. Vehicle slows to 40 kilometers per hour. The colonel hums a tune, too quiet for microphones. Then the bridge erupts. First detonation lifts the lead truck off pavement, flipping it into the river. Blast wave hits rear guard 2 seconds later. Command room audio goes dead except static hiss. Falcon 1 shows bright thermal spikes, then total blackout. In the second truck, shockwave ruptures front glass. Driver slams brakes. Vehicle skids, overturns against guardrail. Inside the command truck, Raptor 2 watches signal bars vanish in sequence. He says, "They had the route." The captain doesn't answer. He's staring at a separate feed where files from the seized servers are reappearing, rewritten with new data stamps, same footage, reversed identifiers. On the bridge, smoke rolls across the water. The colonel crawls out of the flipped truck at 3:10, hands still bound. He limps toward the railing, drops into the darkness below. Gunfire echoes from the tree line on the east bank. One agent fires back. 3-round bursts at muzzle flashes 80 meters out. No confirmation. Wind carries fragments of burning documents across the span. A body drifts under the broken guardrail, uniform torn, face down. Every minute counts now. Backup from Veracruz Base Alpha launches 2 UH-9 helicopters, ETA 12 minutes. Rain density rising, visibility under 300 meters. By the time they arrive, only wreckage remains. At 3:22, aircrew from UH-9-2 circles the bridge at 60 knots. Searchlight finds twisted steel and 3 overturned vehicles. Thermal scope detects no live heat except engine blocks cooling. One agent alive, pinned under debris. No detainees. The colonel's signal beacon still transmits for 3 more minutes before shutting off. Command logs it as signal loss. In the hangar compound, 57 kilometers away, 2 captured hard drives glow faint red. Casing temperature reads 220 Celsius. Internal components fuse, liquid metal dripping onto floor tiles. The automatic sprinkler triggers, shorting the circuit. By 3:45, every digital record of the arrest is gone, except one partial clip showing the colonel smiling. Morning breaks at 7 o'clock. Aerial footage shows the bridge cordoned off by federal police trucks. Divers retrieve 2 bodies. One matches the cartel lieutenant, identified by wrist tattoo. The other is an unidentified female in civilian clothing. Analysts later confirm she was a journalist who disappeared 2 weeks earlier while covering a local election scandal. Reporters gather 200 meters from the checkpoint, cameras trained on smoke rising from the river. A press officer states the operation was partially successful. He lists numbers: 5 detained, 2 dead, data secured. He doesn't mention the missing colonel or the destroyed evidence. The official statement releases at 8:15, time-stamped, archived, cross-signed. Within the hour, that same statement appears online with altered wording, accusing the task force of staging the raid. By 9 o'clock, news channels broadcast a clip allegedly showing task force agents executing detainees on the ground. The timestamp matches 2:1943, the moment of the initial breach, but lighting and angles don't align. Shadows fall opposite directions. Command insists the footage is fabricated. Analysts argue about metadata drift. The cartel's digital watermark appears in the lower right corner. Nobody can trace the source server. The press office collapses under call volume. By noon, every major outlet in the hemisphere runs the edited clip. 2 governments hold emergency meetings. The chain of custody for truth has already snapped. In the Veracruz police headquarters, the replacement colonel, another officer from the same unit, orders city patrols doubled. At 1300 hours, 8 journalists receive messages from unknown numbers. The texts list their home addresses and license plates. One message ends with a coordinate link: 19 degrees 12 minutes 4 seconds north, 96 degrees 8 minutes 55 seconds west. That's the bridge. The reporters forward screenshots to human rights monitors. Monitors forward them to the same compromised network used by the task force. Within 10 minutes, each device shows a tracking error. At 13:45, one journalist's car explodes outside his apartment building. C4 residue later found under the frame. Local officials call it a gas leak. The sound is heard 5 kilometers away. By sunset, air temperature drops to 22 degrees. Veracruz harbor glows with the lights of 4 anchored tankers. On shore, federal investigators sift the remains of the hangar compound. Burnt aluminum, melted steel, nothing intact. Time-coded sensors record residual heat at 110 Celsius. One investigator finds a drive fragment under collapsed shelving. He pockets it before the others notice. In the command tent outside, the operations captain reviews fresh satellite images. 4 separate convoys moving toward the city from the north. 30 vehicles total. Speed consistent with heavy trucks. Intelligence suggests mass mobilization of cartel elements. At 19:03 hours, intercept order issued. Intercept fails when drones lose GPS lock 20 seconds into ascent. Night again. 21:10 hours, rain returns. Local electricity grid flickers. Command trucks run on generator power. Radio channels filled with static bursts at 3-second intervals. The captain taps the table, counting them. He realizes it's a signal, a pulse code repeating coordinates. Same bridge again. Drones grounded by weather, so a recon team drives there at 21:26. They find candles along the guardrail, 32 in total. Each bears a paper tag with a journalist's name. Wind blows wax smoke across the deck. No hostiles visible. Team leader radios for instructions. Command says, hold position. A vehicle appears at the far end, headlights off, rolling slowly. Range 100 meters. It stops, doors open. No one steps out. Then headlights flare, blinding the team. Gunfire follows. Short, precise bursts. One operative drops instantly. The rest retreat. The shooter, never seen. 23:20 hours. Command center silent, except humming generators. Only 7 of 20 team members report in. Drones offline. Network unstable. Captain issues cease operations order. He looks at the wall map of Veracruz. Pins marking past journalist killings. 32 red dots. He adds 1 more. He doesn't record his own name. At 00:05, he shuts down all communications links, switching to local storage only. For 30 minutes, there's calm. Then the backup system reboots itself. On screen, files replicate faster than human input. Every deleted image returns with altered metadata, now labeled cartel property. Someone mutters, "They own the network." No one disagrees. At 1:45, the Mexican president's press office announces a new joint security accord with the United States. A statement flashes on international feeds. Unified action to protect journalists and restore state authority. Behind that text, in faint overlay, the colonel's face appears again, grainy, smiling. Analysts think it's a compression artifact. Others think it's deliberate insertion. The announcement runs exactly 3 minutes before being replaced by emergency weather warnings. In Veracruz, it's still raining. By dawn, recovery teams extract 7 more bodies from the river. Among them, 2 agents and 1 detainee. The rest unidentifiable. Federal officials claim the data purge was caused by lightning strike. Meteorological records show clear intervals at the time. Nothing matches. In the capital, politicians call for investigation. Military channels remain quiet. Every sensor, every radio tower that transmitted during the operation now displays corrupted logs, identical down to the byte. The engineers call it a ghost mirror. The term doesn't appear in any manual. At 7 o'clock the following day, journalists gather again near the ruined bridge. They film the wreckage, take notes, whisper about colleagues who haven't checked in. Police maintain perimeter at 200 meters. Wind pushes smell of diesel and mud across the site. A single survivor from the convoy, still on stretcher, tells a medic the colonel jumped before the blast. He says the man carried a small black drive in his mouth, sealed in tape. No one believes him until divers recover tape residue near the south bank. The drive itself never found. At 8:30, satellite data shows increased encrypted traffic originating from Veracruz industrial zone. Frequency pattern identical to original police comms. The cartel now uses the government's own network for distribution. At 9:15, a new video appears online, showing dozens of journalists' IDs displayed on a warehouse wall. The voice in the clip demands full withdrawal of foreign advisors, or every ID becomes a body. Cross-analysis confirms that the warehouse coordinates match the hangar where the first arrests occurred. The loop closes. 1100 hours. Helicopter noise over the port. Another raid assembling. Different team. Different command. Armor checked, weapons loaded, radio channels fresh. But the map on the wall still shows the same grid. The rain hasn't stopped for 40 hours. As engines start, someone notices the time. It matches the first raid's clock to the minute. The repetition feels mathematical. Nobody says it aloud, but every operator senses it. Once again, they're moving on information generated by the same corrupted system. The physical motion begins anyway. Trucks roll, tires hiss on flooded asphalt. Distance to target, 57 kilometers, and counting.